standing around or at a basketball court or something of that nature. The neat part of that is that you start to get the understanding that as people are in compliance and starting to think less in terms of what they have to say without regard to what the response is going to be. Um, when they start thinking in terms of what that contribution to the rest of the group is going to be, you can see people that do that, right? They take a moment and instead of just, you know, gorping out whatever bad feeling they showed up to tell everybody about because they're unhappy about this, that, or the other thing, somehow somebody has very quietly and silently put something into the air where there's this level of respect that may not be there if somebody else takes over control of the space and the meeting. Are you guys familiar with what I'm talking about here? So a lot of times it'll happen if there's somebody who's in the room that a lot of the folks already know and already know that whoever this person is going to be very fair-minded, is going to be very level-headed, speak very softly, and when it's time for that person to contribute, they will have listened to everybody who had a different thought. So there's almost like, okay, they're here, we can't behave like, you know, uncouth human beings here. We got to like really listen to each other and give it a shot. So I listened to the different models of leadership that have been talked about recently, and there's this term that's called leading from behind, which in my experience had a very specific nature to it. And now it means something different. And I'm kind of curious, do any of you have any experience with the notion of in a situation where there's clearly some sort of partnership, an alliance, or there's some work to be done together, or we wouldn't be gathering in this group? Are you familiar with the term of in the leadership domain of leading from behind?
Yeah, we use a little bit of a different language, but we, apply that. And one of the things we talk about, especially when you're working as part of a team, one of the most valuable skills that you can develop is the ability to support someone else's ability to lead
Yeah.
through strong leadership. So, and I think that's probably similar. And I always thought of like the Zen concept of no trace, where you create a positive impact on something invisibly without anyone ever knowing you did it. You do it just because you can, with no expectation. So to us, that's like if someone is in the front of a class and you are in support of that class and you're able to keep all of the attention focused on the person leading while simultaneously making it better as a learning experience for the student and for that leading teacher, that's a very powerful thing. So, but I think a lot of times when you hear that term, it's more, like having strong communication skills, having, the ability to not, be the ego or the genius with a thousand helpers, to place other people in a position where they can thrive and flourish, without, I don't know, taking away from their ability to do that, but you're still supporting and helping them.
I think I see that, and again, I'll bring up churches or some churches. Um, our minister will call on or ask people to speak during the service on a particular subject. Putting, she likes to call us all ministers, which we basically are. So to put you in a position where you can feel like you are doing that, and being a bigger partner in the whole church grouping, so it's like leading from behind. She is the minister on record kind of thing, but she wants us all to step up and take the podium as well.
Yeah.
And I guess that if it's true leadership from behind, she's skillfully helping you succeed in that role. And I think to me that's the difference. Like if you're a manager and you have someone that works for you and you're just like, go do that, and then they either fail or succeed, and you either blame or congratulate, you're not
Mm.
really leading. You're just directing, you know? So there's a difference. Have you prepared them properly? Are you like we have a stage process, this whole thing about teach, support, feedback, accountability, interdependence, and you go through this formula so that you're doing exactly what Bill's talking about. You're providing leadership in a direction which allows them to grow, and also be held accountable for when they screw up, but you're not abandoning them. You're you are very, very intentionally leading them through this process and yourself as well. So
Yeah, the key distinction in terms of that leadership model, in my experience, it has less to do with being the idea person and more to do with being very, very skilled at finding out where the ideas are and drawing the ideas out and drawing the ideas into some sort of tangible form so that the leadership isn't coming from a person or a source. It's coming from the entire group, and you can feel the motion and the momentum and the movement of everybody as they make a decision, and they do all the nonverbal things that basically say, yes, we're headed in the right direction here. There were a
also,
couple.
nothing's beneath you. Like I had a guy tell
Oh
me
no.
once, and it stuck with me. He said the best leaders push the biggest brooms. They're, you know, they'll
Yeah.
pull up their sleeves. They'll do what needs to be done, and they're not looking for a pat on the back either. They want to see everyone succeed, and the outcome be achieved. So, yeah,
Yeah, the being the example, isn't necessarily even being noticed as being the example.
yeah,
And it's far more powerful when that silent ripple, goes through the room and nobody knows why they're behaving the way they are. It's just like, what's going to happen now, kind of a thing. And there's like this anticipation and maybe a feeling in the collective gut. And then when somebody speaks, it's more worth listening to, if you will.
mhm,
It's like what many people are thinking at the same time. Oh yeah, I'm glad he or she said that because that was on my mind, as opposed to each one making a point, which in a group is a little bit like what did our attracting attention to yourself because you can, and that's what many public groups turn into. Who can attract the most attention? As opposed to how can we make the most progress? How can we get the greatest alignment and association and alliance and partnership? And the really neat thing about it is that people get trained in how to do this powerfully. And there was one training that I went through where we each took turns at the back of the room with somebody who was totally unprepared to lead the group at the front that would be given a task. And then the person at the back, one person at the back, would do nothing other than sit there and very quietly under their breath say, "That's it, be great. That's it, be great. You're as great as the moment calls for. Yeah, you're rocking it. Keep going. Yeah." But mostly silently in their mind, just sending very positive energy and great vibes and smiling face, and affirming type of non-verbal behaviors, and that unbelievably powerful what people reported that they felt like afterwards. And it wasn't anything important. It might be something as mundane as demonstrate to all of these people how to take the piece of gum out of the wrapper in the proper method. And I'm not going to, it's crazy, but the number of people who stood up afterwards and said, "I've never been through a process like that before, but I got goosebumps." The goosebumps came from the nonverbal alliance, the nonverbal resonance, and the symmetry of experience through all the people and the amount of attention that everyone was giving, in this particular instance. And it just left me with, if we could be trained to have that kind of anticipation for any time we're in a group, whether it's family, friend, spouse, church, if we're really just counting on other people's greatness to show up, what the heck would this world look like?
We should do that all the time. It's kind of like, I'm a Reiki master, so there are times when people are standing up on a podium and they are so nervous, and because there's a few of us in the audience, that's all we do is sit back there and just send them positive energy.
Yeah.
And it usually, you can see the results of it usually. I mean, I've even done it like at funerals when people are having a tough time with eulogies. You send that positive thing for strength and peace and ease to get through it.
Yeah. You take my energy, I'm not using it.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't worry, crunch all you want, we'll make more. So, kind of coming back full around, each of us have had our opportunities to be leaders in a discipline, a practice, organization, company, all those kinds of an environment. And do you have anything to report in terms of the model when you got to a point where things just generally seemed to work? If they did, how was it in terms of in being enjoyable for you? What kind of an experience or what kind of an expression of the work together would you report on when it seemed to be working well and the best? Has anybody got an idea like that or an occurrence like that when that happened for you? Well, Ken, your nod gets you first place here.
Well, yeah, I mean that's just over and over again. I mean that's kind of our just the way we practice. And and the reality of it is it's there's kind of funny you were saying about sometimes feeling alone. I think we all experience loneliness. We just have to remember that we're not really alone, but we still are humans who experience loneliness. So, so I think it's the same thing when everything's working well, you experience that sense of connection and feeling productive and empowered and all those things. And, all you can do is, I don't know, we focus on creating designs that make it easier for everyone to make the right choice, the choice they want to make. And sometimes the design breaks and that doesn't happen. And then there's tension or, there's human elements that come in. So it's like chaotic, but in the end, all of the businesses we've done have shared a sense of meaningful human connection and empowered learning. Just we're all teachers and we're all students all the time. And then just the joy of the moment that you're in, best day ever, your present moment awareness. So those things show up and then we forget. Yeah. And then we remember and it comes and goes and we just commit to the practice and the process, you know?
Who else?
Well, I like what Ken said about, because we've spoken about this before about the result, but the actual process of getting there is to stay in those moments too, and not just wait for accomplishing a certain thing and then forgetting about it. 'Cause this neuroscientist was talking about that we often will feel a sense of postpartum after accomplishing something good, and that we have to remember the the steps that we took, that we actually did make that process happen, and that we can do it again and again and again, and to revel in that kind of partnership feeling. So it doesn't matter how many people, or even if you just accomplished something yourself that was that good. Remember that feeling is great and you can revel in, but you have to acknowledge that great feeling of the whole process so that you can repeat it.
I love it. So what's it feel like for you, Jan, every time there's a cool down?
Alignment. There's a feeling of, I think, connection, alignment,